So I guess V, if
Oh,
you
there
you
she
can
is.
wait.
Hello, V.
Hello.
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing well. For some reason, this
I
just
hear
does
you
not
for
want to
about
let
a
me
second,
Oh,
and then
it
it goes
actually
away.
it just brought you in. It
Oh,
just brought you in.
fantastic. Should I hang up the
Oh,
phone
there you
now?
are. Yes, hang
Oh,
up the phone.
whoopee. Okay, we did it.
Awesome. We made it work. Dan
Woo!
and I, ever since we started this podcast, we've this 20th century technology.
Sorcery, we call
Yeah,
it.
20th century sorcery.
And
Yes.
we
There you
still
go.
think it's the 20th century. That's how how uncomfortable we are with modern technology.
Well, we couldn't have picked a better day to do this podcast because it just so happens that today I'm fitting all of my models in the Lost Boys costumes with their wigs and everything and doing their teeth casting. So I'm right in the
Oh,
middle of doing that right now.
that is awesome. Please take a photo and send it to us. We want to put that up on the Vamp Chat Facebook and Instagram. Well, if we're all ready, shall I begin?
Absolutely.
Okay. Eva, can you still hear me? Wait, now Eva's gone.
You see, it's not a perfect system.
Yeah. Eva will get
I'm
on.
here. Can you
She
hear
knows
me?
this. Okay, I can hear you now.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, let's go with it. I'm not going to
Okay.
touch anything.
Okay. All right. Welcome to a very made up edition of Vamp Chat with Dan and Eva. This is a podcast devoted to vampire fiction, fanged folklore, and the gothic imagination. I'm Dan Klefstad, author of Fiona's Guardians and its forthcoming sequel. Can you hear me, Eva?
You went out
All
on me
right,
for
are
a
you
minute
there? Can
too.
you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. So let's try this
Can you
again.
hear me?
Yes, we can hear
Yes, we've
everybody.
Okay.
got you, V. Yep.
Oh my goodness.
Oh God. And I'm Eva Vertrice, author of the Fury trilogy. Book 1 of Fury is currently out, with book 2, A Hellish Fury, coming later this year.
So, Eva, I know both of us are very excited to speak with tonight's guest, who is a member of Hollywood horror royalty.
We are. It's a special night for fans of Oscar and Emmy winning makeup artist Ve Neill.
We will talk about her storied career, plus her upcoming Vampire Weekend with its signature Vampire Ball. But first, we'd like to mention that we are entertaining sponsorship inquiries for Vamp Chat. This is a great opportunity for those looking to reach folks who consume all things vampire and who are more likely to attend events geared toward their fellow creatures of the night.
That's right. To sponsor Vamp Chat, please email us at vampchatwithdanandeva@gmail.com or reach out to us on Facebook or Instagram. And we look forward to introducing your business or event to our audience.
And without further ado, let's bring on tonight's guest, who works frequently with director Tim Burton and has worked on 7 films with Johnny Depp.
And she won the Oscar for Best Makeup Design for Beetlejuice, Mrs. Doubtfire, and Ed Wood.
We are rolling out the red carpet for Ve Neill. Welcome, V, to Vamp Chat.
Well, thank you very much. I'm happy to be here.
All right.
V, okay, I have to gush for a moment and let you know what an honor it is to have you on our show. I've personally been a huge fan of your work for years. And I just have to say, I truly admire what a trailblazer you've been for women in the special effects makeup industry. And I know in the beginning you were probably just doing what you loved and making a living. But I'm curious to know at what point you look back on your career and realize what an impact you had made on the industry.
You know what? I never kind of got it. I never thought of it until I got much older, when, like young women would come to me and say, if it hadn't been for you, none of us would be doing what we're doing now. And I got, really? And they said, oh yeah, no, you broke down the doors. And I have to think back on it. And I think, well, I guess I did. I was like, woo, well, maybe I did. But it's like you said, I was just doing what I really always wanted to do ever since I was a child. And of course, when I was a child, I was always said, oh, you can't do that. You're a girl. And, oh, you have to know somebody, or you have to blah, 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 blah. And I thought, well, fine, I'll figure it out then. And I did.
And you've had quite the career, which is still
Yes.
going on. V, you have designed makeup for the ghosts in Beetlejuice, the pirates of the Caribbean, superheroes, characters of all kind. But this is Vamp Chat, so I'm wondering what makes vampires especially interesting to you as a makeup artist.
Well, you know what? I don't know that it's especially interesting to me as a makeup artist, but I have always had this thing for vampires ever since I was very, very young. And when the opportunity arose with Joel Schumacher to come and do this film, The Lost Boys, well, I pretty much lost my mind because I said, "Oh my God." Because the script was so cool. And I said, you know what? These guys have to be like dark angels. They have to be beautiful. They have to be scary. They have to be sexy. Everybody has to want to have these guys, you know?
Mm.
Well, yeah, and like you said, in you were the makeup artist for, and The Lost Boys is one of my all-time favorite vampire movies, in '87, and I still think you don't get enough credit for making vampires, or at least their blood, sparkle years before Twilight. And it's my understanding that Joel Schumacher, he gave you full reign. So if you could tell us the story around how you made this happen and the scene where the effect really stands out.
Well, Joel was fabulous. I can't say enough amazing things about Joel. I absolutely adored working with him. I also did some Batman films with him, and I did several other films with him as well. And he pretty much, we sort of had the same aesthetic. And I said to him, I said, Joel, I said, it'd be really cool if, if there was glitter in the blood. So when the guys went outside, they would sparkle like they were just kind of like freaky, like, and, what was so cool about it was nobody really noticed it right away. You know what I mean? It wasn't something that you were going, hey, those guys have glitter all over them. It just looked like they were kind of shiny in the light. But I specifically wanted them to have glitter in the. It was the '80s. Everybody had to have glitter. Come on, that had
Yeah.
it had to come in somewhere. You know what I mean? And this
Yep,
was where I
yep.
put it. I thought this is my perfect time to put the glitter in the blood.
That is
Well,
awesome.
and it also, there was also a scene where David, he sheds a tear after
Yes.
his hand goes in the, and but that actually wasn't planned.
No,
His
it was actually, back then we didn't have the soft contact lenses like we have now. Those guys were wearing rigid plastic contact lenses,
Oh
and they
God.
could only keep them in for a very short while. So his eyes were actually starting to water and he was having a bright light shown on his face. So between the light and the dust and and the wind blowing and everything going on, his eyes just started to tear, and it just happened to coincide with his hand burning, which was so gosh darn cool. You know what I mean? It was just like,
It was.
wow, this is the best ever. How did that happen right on cue?
Now, the vampires in this film have two main styles of makeup that I could tell. On one hand, they're rebellious teen vampires who look like pale, sexy humans, and then you have another style for when they really vamp out. What was your inspiration for the makeup you used when they revealed their true vampiric selves? And if you could also explain your contribution to the vampires', how shall we say, dental work.
Well, I also didn't want them to have the same kind of teeth that they had before. I thought it would be kind of cool to have a double set of teeth, so they could really grip. And
Mm.
also, they were on the they weren't on the regular canines. They were on the longer teeth. Ooh, the longer teeth were on the front end, or were on the teeth in front of the incisors, as it were. So they could really grip, because I always thought it was weird that they were all the way out there and you always saw two little holes so close together. I'm thinking, how did those teeth way out there make those two little holes close together? So I thought,
Yeah.
we've got to change that. And then also, it's like I said, I wanted them to be like dark angels. I wanted them to be sexy, and I wanted them to be pretty, but I wanted them to be scary. And I wanted everybody in that movie theater to want to take them home and take them to bed with them. Because
Beautiful.
I always thought that, I'm sorry, I hope there's no youngins in the audience.
No, you're good.
I
Yeah.
I always thought that, vampires should be sexy. I mean, there's just something about that, because like when you get bit, you start to lose blood, you start going into that like dreamy kind of sexy, kind of weird. Am I letting out too much info here?
No, you're
Uh,
fine.
we love hearing about your inner
Love it.
fantasies.
That was
V,
my
they're right
inner
along with
fantasy.
mine, and you
That was my
succeeded.
inner fantasy when I was 20.
Yep.
I used to have reoccurring dreams about vampires, and that's always what was happening. So I had a really good vision as to what I wanted these guys to look like. And originally, when we started this thing with Joel says, well, I'm going to have Steve Johnson come in and do the makeup. And I said, oh, no, 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 please, Joel, don't do that. I said, they're going to be scary. Steve Johnson's going to make them look scary and creepy looking because Fright Night had just come out, not too
Mm.
around the same time. So I knew that they were horrible. They were scary. They had all those teeth and they were just creepy and I wanted these guys to be beautiful in a very scary way. So I
Well,
said, you have to have my friend Greg Canham do these makeups. So he said, okay, this is what we're going to do. I'll have Steve Johnson do a test and the same day we'll have Greg do a test and put them both in front of camera. And bing it a boom. We decided to go with Greg
well, you
because Steve's
succeeded.
was too scary, just like
Yep.
I said. So
You succeeded in more ways than you know.
I hope I
So,
fulfilled a whole bunch of people's fantasies.
oh, you did one girl sitting right here.
Oh, goody.
So another situation involves the makeup, involving makeup is the transitional phase between human and vampire,
Hmm.
and this is what the character Michael Emerson, goes through after he drinks the vampire
Right.
blood offered by David, played by Kiefer Sutherland, who is so hot. And sorry, the next morning, we see Michael begin to change. So, what was your
Right.
approach to Michael's in between state?
Well, all of the boys, believe it or not, had this little bit of eyeliner on, which kind of just enhanced the eyes and made them pop a little bit more. And it wasn't so much like girly eyeliner. It was this color that I used. It was a color by MAC Cosmetics that they no longer make, but I have since had them make it for me again because it was such a great color. And they did, and I still have a few that I covet. And it was this color called Ashbury, and it's sort of a green gray taupe color. It's a real weird color to explain, but it's sort of the same color that you get around your eyes when you get really tired, albeit a very diminished, version of that color. But
Hmm.
when you layer it on in the eyes, what it does is it just gives the eyes just a little bit more of that depth that you want to see. That gives it that sultry kind of sexy look. So this is what I did to Jason Patrick as well, and gave him a slightly, a little bit more pallor. But all the guys actually had that what I call guy liner on.
Yeah. Well, you
Yeah.
worked on another vampire film from 2011 called Priest, and here you were the head of the makeup department.
Yes.
T- Tell us how you and your team designed the look for the vampire hunter, Priest, played by Paul Bettany,
Uh
and
huh.
the vampire human hybrid called Black Hat, played by Carl Urban, and the other vampires in the film.
Well, a lot of the other vampires, the creature ones, were designed by K&B. So
Mhm.
Right.
they actually did have big giant puppets of those characters, but I believe there was a lot of CGI going on. But we had giant puppets of those guys, and then the familiars with the bald guys with the
Yep.
that was something sort of I just kind of morphed in to make them look creepy and they were just I wanted them to look creepy and scary and pale, and so they sort of had that same kind of gaunt looking thing with the stuff around the eyes, but not anything that was going to be yummy. They just had to look just darn right nasty and creepy. Now, cut to Paul Bettany and Maggie Q. They had the crosses. Now that was something that
Right.
was decided. The director wanted to have those, and I had Christian Tinsley because this was way back when Christian was like the king of tattoos. So Christian designed these tattoos for me, and we had to do them in different sizes because they had to fit all the actors specifically within the bridge of their nose and the brow, and it was like very. So we had to do all those individually for each character. And Paul Bettany's makeup was pretty well straightforward. He was just a straight makeup. And actually, his makeup artist from England, Chrissy Beveridge, was there with him for that. Now, as far as when we got into Carl Urban's makeup, that was a whole different animal because I wanted Carl to look completely different than other, I didn't want him to be the pasty vampire. I actually wanted him to be kind of tan, almost like a Clint Eastwood type vampire guy.
Uh-huh.
So he had a totally different look. But I can't remember if I had done a picture with him already before then or after then. I also did another picture with Carl. So we were familiar working with each other, so we knew how each other worked. But he was terrific to work with, and we went through. I tried a bunch of different stuff on him before we finally came to this particular look for him because we wanted him to sort of have that post-apocalyptic sort of Western look. It was kind of like somewhere stuck in time, you know. And
Yeah. And it
I
works.
yeah, and I wanted him to have some really different looking eyes, and so we put those. God, I can't remember what color eyes he had now. They were kind of bright greenish, I think, and some I can't
Yeah,
remember. They were
I think
kind
you're
of
right.
green and yellow and kind of
Yeah.
like animal looking, you know. But I wanted his eyes to really pop, and I used that gray green eyeliner on him too because I just wanted him to be cool looking too. So I kind of love my vampire boys. What can I say?
Well, Priest is one of my two. I call them my 2 a.m.ers because
Oh,
if you're surfing, the you can't sleep and you're surfing at at 2 a.m. You will always stop at that movie. Like that is one of my just that is probably in my top five
you
favorite
know what?
movies.
And I haven't watched it in a while. Now I'm going to have to think about that now. Okay.
I'm
You
gonna rewatch it and look for the eyeliner. That's what
you
I'm
did.
gonna
You
do.
just put
Yeah,
you
same
just put
here.
that into my head, Ava.
Well, we can't forget Ed Wood, for which you won an Oscar.
Yep.
And here you designed the makeup for Martin Landau, who plays Bela Lugosi in the final years of his
Okay,
life.
back
So,
up here. Back up. I
yes.
did not
Okay.
design that makeup for him.
Oh,
Rick Baker designed that makeup for him. And
okay.
Oh.
Rick Baker, who is a genius, he has 8 Oscars. The king. I'm bowing right now. Okay. Um, but no, Rick, he's an immense talent, and he designed that makeup on Martin Landau for Bela Lugosi. And the only thing I did was redesign the coloring of it because when Rick did the original test makeup on him, he did it so that what he was in color, so he used all normal coloring, beautiful. It was a beautiful paint job. And when we put him on camera, he just looked normal. He didn't look tired. He didn't look sick. He didn't look gaunt. He didn't look any of those things that Tim wanted him to look. So I remember I did the makeup. I did the makeup the way Rick wanted me to do it. And we took him out. We filmed a little bit with him, and Tim looks at me, goes, "No, no, V, he looks way too healthy. We he
Yeah,
needs
yeah.
he needs to look sick. You need to go darken up his eyes, do something, get him. He needs to look, sickly." So I said, okay. So I took him back to the makeup trailer, and I was making him up, and I was putting some dark around his eyes and trying to give him some depth in his cheekbones. And Rick walks into the trailer and he goes, "God damn it, V." He said, "I knew the minute I gave you that makeup, you put dark circles around his eyes." And I said, "No, I'm not." And Martin says, "No, no, no. We're just trying to make me look sick. We're not putting dark circles on." Tim told her to darken up my eyes, and I went, "Oh, yeah, thank you, Martin." you know. But it was true. It's like, oh yeah, of course, Tim Burton, dark circles, yeah, big black circles around your eyes, sure. But
Well,
I
obviously it must have worked because you won, I believe, your third Oscar on a
with
film.
with Rick
Yeah, yeah,
Baker, and
yeah.
Yeah.
it was funny as we started shooting, I realized that I literally had to start making up Martin in sort of shades of gray and browns and white, not white, but very pale skin tones.
Mhm.
And I just sort of squint my eyes and pretend like he was in black and white, and then I could tell if I had enough, highs and lows on his complexion. But he pretty much, by the time I really got the makeup down, he looked like he was in black and white when you saw him in person, because it was the
That
only way that I could really guarantee that the makeup was going to look correct.
you
Yeah.
squinting your eyes, that's amazing that you
Well,
got that black and white look from doing
well,
that.
well, it's the best I could do until we got him in front of a camera.
But that's awesome.
Yeah.
So, V, if you were hired to design makeup for another vampire film and you had carte blanche, what would you do differently with the vampires that you haven't done before?
Well, okay, funny you should say that. Um, I just did a little tiny vampire movie this summer with some friends of mine. And I sort of had to use existing stuff because it was a little low budget film.
Uh huh.
So I got prosthetics from K&B, And I got prosthetics from Steve Laporte, who also worked on Lost Boys with me, who happens to be here today casting all my actors' teeth and making all of our teeth with us. Um, and so I got prosthetics from Steve, and I got prosthetics from Howard Berger at K&B. And I just took them and then painted them for this film. So I did a different paint job. So I made these guys, I don't know. Some of my stuff kind of comes out the way it always comes out, the way because everybody has a style. So
Right.
the lead vampire kind of had a similar style to the way I did Ed Herman, whose makeup was cut out at the end. We did a makeup on Ed Herman that was cut out at the end of Lost Boys, so you never got to see him in his totally full, or did we? I think it cut out. I think they thought it was too long. But anyway, so I did a makeup on our lead, one of our lead actors in that film. But then I got to do another guy in a vampire makeup who was really creepy and scary looking, and I really dug the way he came out. So, and he was
We
he was all veiny and he was a mess. He had a bullet shot in his head, and he was gritty, and his teeth were like, we did these really, Steve Laporte again made teeth for me for that film, and they all had fingernails, which all the Lost Boys had fingernails as well. That was
Mm-hmm.
another thing.
Yep.
I don't know if you remember, getting back
Yep.
to the Lost Boys, they were so cool. I had my manicurist come and put acrylic nails on the guys because I didn't want to worry about them getting popped off every second and dealing with it. And they all were shaped like X-Acto blades.
oh wow,
So the
yeah.
guys all had these fingernails that looked like X-Acto blades, and they walked around with them for, the months that we shot the film. So that was pretty cool.
Oh, now I'm gonna have to go back and check that too.
Yes,
Yep.
but both of us want to know. Both Eva and I want to know what is this latest film that you're working on. Where can we?
Well, it's not out yet. We're actually doing all the visual effects on it right now. I'm also one of the producers on the film, so that was kind of fun. And it's called The Wolf and the Lamb.
The Wolf and the Lamb. We
Yeah,
will be on guard. We will be looking out for that one.
yeah.
Absolutely.
Yes.
It's
Yes.
probably come out this summer, I would think. But it's a cool little horror film that my friends did, and I was happy to be part of it. And I had a ball doing it because now it's like I don't want to get up at 3 o'clock in the morning to go work on movies. I want to go work on stuff that I want to have fun on. You know what I mean?
Oh, I
Yep.
agree.
And,
Yeah, yeah.
Yep.
and we had a ball doing it, and they pretty much gave me carte blanche and let me do whatever I want. And we had so many makeup effects, and K&B is so great because they have done everything. So I call them. I say, Howard, do you have a gag for a broken leg? Howard, do you have autopsy bodies? Howard, do you have? And so little by little, I gathered up all my stuff, and Howard pretty much helped me get all the blanks for all these things. And all I had to do was paint them up and make them my own and make them work and rig everything and it was a blast. And I did all the hair too, so I had wigs, I had facial hair, we had so much. We were changing the producers into background people because they didn't have enough extras for the day, so we would change them into different people. We'd put wigs on them and hair pieces, and it was really fun. We had a
That's
ball.
awesome.
Oh,
That's
sounds like
awesome.
it. Yeah.
I can't wait. I can't wait to watch it. So one of the things we've talked about here on Vamp Chat is the transition that vampires are making in film from the traditional sexy vampire of Jerry Dandridge and Fright Night to more of the monster version portrayed in the Demeter. And as a
Uh-huh.
special effects makeup artist, do evolutions like this excite and inspire your creativity?
Well, you're calling them an evolution, but they're actually throwbacks to the original Nosferatu, and some of the really horribly disfigured people that they considered vampires because it's kind of I mean the new Nosferatu is like so amazing. I mean,
Hmm.
and Bill Skarsgård he did an amazing job on that, and that was his own voice because I was talking to him when I went to a screening, and he was at the screening afterwards and he was talking to everybody, and I said, Bill, I said, what did they do to your voice? And he goes, they didn't do any. He said, that was me.
Whoa.
I said,
Oh, oh,
wow. I said, boy, that is impressive because he did that all. He was not modulated. It was not altered,
oh,
nothing.
wow.
And the makeup artist that did, I read a whole article from the makeup artist who I'm not familiar with, who did the makeup on that. And he said, we didn't want to fantasize what it would look like. He said, we actually made it to look exactly like what decaying, healing, rotten skin would look like.
Oh,
And
yeah.
if you look at it, when you finally get to see some of it, because it was so darn dark, but when you get to see some of it, it does look like sickly dead skin.
Hmm.
It doesn't
Yeah.
look like a fantasized monster version of it. It looks like dead skin. It's really gross. I mean, it looks like you could like touch it and you could dig it and it would like kind of break apart, you know. It was nasty.
Ew.
Oh,
So
yeah.
they, I mean, he did an amazing job on the makeup, and he
Yeah.
also used, you know, he also made him look more like the people would have looked back in that era with the big noses, and you know the you know from the area from which they came, you know, and it was I thought it was really well designed, and he did an incredible job on it.
So they've captured not the evolution of a vampire, but an atavism almost, kind of like.
I don't know what that word means, but it's
So
fabulous, and I'm going to use that from now on. What
basically
does
the
it?
opposite of evolving, yeah. Hey,
Devolving.
yes,
Devolving.
devolving is right. Yeah. Now I've read, since we're talking about Nosferatu, I've read that Bill Skarsgård had to sit for 6 hours when filming that masterful movie. What is the longest makeup session you have had in any film, and which actor were you working on?
I think the longest one I ever had was on a film called Hoffa. We had to do a full body burn on this actor named Robert Prosky. And it actually took myself and two other makeup artists almost the entire day because we had to take turns working on him because it took so goddamn long to make him up. And thank God, Robert, we would just lay him on the table after a while. We have pictures of him sitting in chairs smoking cigarettes, and he'd have part of his burn on because what it was part of it was a bodysuit, and then part of it was prosthetics glued onto his skin and onto the bodysuit. So it took bloody forever because he had to be in a full torch, and you see him completely laid out on the table. So he's
Oh,
completely naked. So it took forever. So even after we got the prosthetics on and they were painted, you still had to make them look like they were real and painted. So all the stuff had to be blended together. You had to put all the goo in, the burn marks, the you know the oh, it was just so that's probably my longest makeup job I've ever done.
Wow. Yeah.
But you know, I don't think Bill sat in the chair for 6 hours every time. That was only when you saw portions of his body. I think for
Okay.
his normal facial makeup is probably more like 3 hours tops. But I think when you saw parts of his body and you know all that kind of stuff, yes, it was definitely 6 hours, especially probably for the end bits there where he's you know partially naked. Yeah,
Mm.
absolutely.
wow. So
Wow.
is there a vampire character whose makeup you didn't design but you especially like because of the way they did it or just admire?
Well, I think Bram Stoker's Dracula is probably one of the most amazing uh, makeups I've ever seen. I mean, all of them. Greg Canham did another, you know, stunning job on everything in that film. I mean, Gary Oldman was just spectacular,
He was.
and you know, I can't say enough about that. I think you know that was probably one of my favorite vampire films ever done.
And here at Vamp Chat, that's one of our favorite vampire films.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, cool,
yeah, yeah.
cool.
So, V, you are one of the founders of the Legends Makeup Academy. What are your thoughts about the level of talent entering the industry today?
Well, I think there's a lot of very talented young makeup artists, and they just get better because the technology keeps growing. And if they ever have a chance to work with some of these guys that have been around for a while and get into their labs and start learning from them, they're going to be amazing. But I did that show Face Off, and there are
Yeah.
so many young
Mhm.
artists that came from that show that are doing really exceptionally well right now that I'm very happy for. In fact, I have several of them going to be at my convention that's coming up, everybody.
Yes, we were just about
Um,
to talk about
We're gonna
that.
get into that. We're
there
gonna get into that.
yeah, there's going to be we're doing a face-off panel on Sunday at the convention. But
Oh,
four
cool.
of the makeup artists who actually have their own businesses now are going to be there as and have booths at the convention. So they are, you know, some of our success stories to say the least. You know, not to mention the ones that have started schools and have gotten in the union, or you know, full-blown makeup artists doing movies, and it's pretty fabulous.
All
So
right.
is there one or two artists that we should look out for?
You know what? Too many I can't even name right now, but you know, there's yeah,
Okay.
the young ones. I don't know the young ones because I don't know a lot of them because I'm not in the loop. I haven't been able to work with them. I no. I couldn't name them,
Is someone
unfortunately.
who's
I do
someone who sticks out.
apologize.
Yeah,
No,
you
you're
know.
fine.
Well, next month, as we mentioned, you will preside over the Vampire Weekend, which is a 3-day celebration of all things vampire. This will be March 14th through the 16th at the Marriott Convention Center in Burbank, California. Who are some of the celebrities who will join you for this event?
Well, we have a well, you know what? We've had so many new ones now. I can't even remember everybody, but we have a whole list you can see on Eventbrite. I do know that Brian Fuller's going to be there with his new film Dust Bunnies, and Brian Fuller is a director who I know a lot of you know his work, but probably most famous for his work on Hannibal.
Hmm.
Um, Patrick Tatopoulos, who has done so many films in Underworld and oh, God, I can't even name all of Patrick's stuff right now, but he's another director. He'll be there doing that. He'll also be with us on the Face Off panels because, of course, he was with us on Face Off for a while. But we have oh gosh, I feel so silly. I can't even name everybody. I'd have to go look everybody up right now. But
Well,
we have a plethora of people sign. Oh well, wait a minute. Hold on. What am I saying? I've got the Lost Boys. I've got several of the Lost Boys are going to be there. What a dummy! They'll be signing, and we're going to be doing a whole Lost Boys panel. Hello.
I
um,
love it.
um, we
So,
also have I also have 7 of the original pirates from Pirates of the Caribbean are going to be
oh,
there.
neat.
nice.
I even, and if we're lucky, it's even a slight possibility that Jeffrey Rush will be able to join us because he's coming over to the States to promote a film that he is currently doing. So if it works out that he can come visit us on that day, he will be there as well for that. But we have 8 of our original pirates will be there, so we're going to have a whole big pirate consortium, and that's going to be pretty fun. So that along with lots of miscellaneous different horror films and different genres and people from Twilight and True Blood and just sprinkled all over the place. We're going to have people, so it's going to be pretty great. But lots of really fun panels. It's going to be very film oriented because we want people to enjoy all the stuff that we in the film business like to have. You'll be able to see makeup demos, and we're going to be doing demos all weekend long of famous vampire makeups, which is going to be really fun. And
Oh yeah.
we are also recreating all of the Lost Boys on Saturday morning. And today I'm actually doing all the fittings for the Lost Boys. And Steve Laporte is here with me today taking teeth casts. And my lens technician just showed up a minute ago, right when we started our um, podcast. So we are doing all of our fittings right now to get all of our Lost Boys together. So they will be there as well. And it's pretty exciting stuff. We're going to have a good time.
Oh, I
Oh,
can't.
sounds
I'm
like it.
excited.
Yeah.
I'm excited. Yeah. So and there's also going to be a vampire ball. So I'm kind of curious what you're going to be wearing to the ball and who's going to be doing your makeup.
Well, funny enough, I have a young girl that works with me sometimes, and I said, "All right, you're doing my makeup because you can do like a really." I get too nerved out, and I never do that kind of stuff to myself. But this girl does these really beautiful, Instagram crazy looking makeup, so I'm going to have her do me.
Oh,
Um,
wonderful.
and and I'll probably do my gentleman friend that's going to accompany me. I want to do him like Victor from Underworld.
Oh,
So
neat.
Oh,
Yeah.
love
costume,
it.
pretty
Love
cool.
it.
And my
Love
friend
it.
Chad Evett, who goes by Chad Hatter, is making my costume for me. And we're calling it a ball, but in fact, it's just a giant, fabulous party, of course. But everybody will be dressed up in, you know, amazing attire, let's hope, because it is a costume require party,
Oh, that's
hire
That
awesome.
ball.
sounds beautiful. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So, where did you get the idea to host a vampire weekend?
Well, I do because of Face Off. I became very popular, so I started doing signings at different horror conventions all over the United States. And there was a young woman who approached me and she said, "V, she said, you are so popular and everybody loves you, and you always do so well at these conventions." She said, "You should put on your own convention." And I said, "What?" And she goes, "Yeah." She goes, "Everybody would come." And I said, "Well, I don't know about that." She goes, I do." And I said, "Well, I don't I don't know anything about putting on conventions." She says, "Yes, but I know everything about putting on conventions." So I said, "Well, okay." And I said, "If we do it, we have to do it in Los Angeles and it has to be about vampires." And she said, "Really?" And I said, "Yeah." I said, I have been doing this now for like 7 years. I've never seen a convention that's like primarily geared towards vampires. She goes, no, I haven't either. She says, they'll have like Twilight little party things and weird stuff, but they've never had like a full convention. And
Mm-hmm.
I said, I know we will encompass all the different genres, but I want it to be inspired by vampires. So that's where we started, and that's what we're doing. And, of course, we've been hit with all these horrible things that have been happening in California. So it's been very
Yeah.
challenging. Obviously, we've lost a lot of our people that were going to be helping us do stuff. So that's kind of unfortunate, but it's still going to be amazing, and I'm really happy with the way everything's turning out. It's looking really good. We have great guests, we have great panels happening, and it's going to be fun, and it's going to be a real celebration of all the arts that come together in the movie world that help make movies so fabulous. We're going to have people from the costume eras, from the costume departments, um, art directors, prop makers, everybody there to and we're going to do panels to show you how the movies are made. So it's kind of going to be that type of a thing where it's like an all-encompassing arts and crafts. Um, how movies are made and who makes them and what makes them and how is it put together and how do you do this? Because a lot of people don't know; they just think it's like movie magic and it just happens. But so we're going to have a
Yeah.
lot of panels so people can go and learn how to, learn how we do that. And it's going to be really interesting. I think it'll be fun for a lot of people to just go and be part of, all that's movie making and fabulous vampires.
Well, I think that's awesome. And if you decide to do it next year, maybe you can have a vampire podcast that is live from
Streams
there.
live. Yeah, yeah.
Well,
I can think of one.
if you're interested, I can give you a booth if you want to come.
Oh,
We would love to.
It's up to you, but
we're
we'll
we're
talk
definitely
later.
gonna. We will definitely be talking.
Yeah, talk amongst yourselves, kids.
So I also have to note that you're coming to our hometown of Kentucky in June. So you'll
I
be at
think
the
I am,
Louisville
yes.
Horror Con, yes, June 7th and 8th at the Triple Crown Pavilion. We will also be there. So
Excellent.
we would love to see you in person and you know just kind of catch up. But I know what our favorite part is about going to these conventions. But what's your favorite part about being a celebrity guest at these horror cons?
You know what? I just love going talking to the fans. It makes me so happy that people loved the stuff that you did. You know what I mean? It just
Mhm.
I feel um because I've never gotten it. You know what I mean? I don't know. I don't want to say that I'm humble, but I kind of am because it's like this is just something I always wanted to do. I didn't do it to become famous or anything. I just did it because I liked it, So when I get to talk to people that really like it too, it makes me feel happy that I could have made somebody, happy watching it.
Oh
So
Hmm.
yeah.
I don't know. It's kind of a good feeling, and it just I don't know. I like to talk to the fans. I like to, and they love to hear stories, and that's always cool. And I have a lot of fun stories to share, and
And you've
just
touched a
And
lot of lives,
yeah.
horror fans, Yeah.
yeah. And it's funny. It's like people say you've done all these horror movies. I haven't really done a lot of horror movies. I've done movies with like crazy characters in them, and
Hmm.
like I like fantasy. It's like they're more fantasy driven to me than they are horror, but it's a horror fantasy, of course, but it's still a fantasy, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah,
It's like
Well,
absolutely.
I
and
don't do slasher films, but I'm friends with all the people that do, you know. But yeah, it's really fun. I enjoy the camaraderie. I enjoy talking to all the actors and the other makeup artists if there's any there. And I like to go around to see all the demos that people are doing and give them pointers. And sometimes I'll grab somebody out of that's just walking around and say, "Hey, come here, let me make you up," and I'll put a big gash in their head and they'll go walking around, look,
V. Neill did this.
I grab a ball. I usually grab a bald guy because they have a lot of real estate for me to work with. So it's pretty fun, but I do enjoy it. I really have a good time doing it.
we can relate a lot to that because when we started Vamp Chat, we were just doing it for fun. And we did not expect, I think, a lot of the attention that we're getting now. And it's like we're still kind of in awe with it. We're just doing what we love.
Yeah, absolutely. So,
Yeah, exactly. Well, I can't wait to meet you guys.
Oh, we are so looking forward to
Likewise.
that in
And
June in
Likewise.
Louisville. Yeah.
yeah,
Yep.
If
maybe
you
my
were,
book
Well,
will be out by
maybe
then.
in March. Maybe in March.
Oh,
who
okay. Well,
knows?
maybe in March. Yeah, maybe in March. Just
If
see
you
the
are just
story.
joining us, we are speaking with V. Neill, 3-time Oscar and 2-time Emmy winner for makeup design. V, stay with us while we tease the final segment of the show where we review a movie or TV series. And Eva, I understand you'll be reviewing a film that is near and dear to our guest's heart.
Yes, I will be reviewing The Lost Boys from 1987.
Woo!
Oh, yeah. A
You're
classic.
gonna have to stick around for this one, V, because I'm going all out here.
All right.
It is a classic among Gen Xers like us, and I'm very much looking forward to that. All right, V. Neill, back to you. During Vamp Chat, we ask each of our guests the same 4 vampy questions.
Oh boy.
Eva, want to begin?
Absolutely. So, who is your favorite vampire of all time and why?
Wow. Well, I absolutely love the British horror films. So I would have to say Christopher Lee
Oh, yeah,
Mm,
that's a good one. Yeah.
gotcha.
because he scared the shit out of me when I was young. He is like the scariest dude ever, and he's that tall, skinny, creepy, bloody, bitchin' looking dude. I don't know.
Well, we have to ask. What do you think? What did you think about the makeup job on Christopher Lee?
Um, oh, I thought they were great. I mean, he was always pasty and had those bloody eyes, blood red eyes, the contact lenses, whatever they did to him, great teeth. He
Yeah.
always looked amazing to me. He was always frightening.
Yes, he was.
Yes, he was.
So,
So it's funny. It's like I say he's my favorite one, and I don't know why, but I think it's probably because he was just so scary. And I think
hmm
the British Gothic, the whole thing with the Gothic, they just did it so well.
they've lived it.
Yes, yes, they've lived it.
Yeah.
But Christopher Lee and Peter Cushing together, what a classic team up. You know what I mean? It couldn't have
Oh,
been
yeah.
better.
Yeah.
Yeah. Those Hammer films, right?
Yes, the Hammer films were the best. So
There are a lot of folks here listening right now who will agree with you. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So, V, what vampire power do you wish you had?
oh. Well, I'd like to say I'd like to glam people, but I think I can do that already. So,
Of course you
um,
can. You've glammed us.
I'd say fly.
Flying. Yeah. I love
Nice.
that. That's great.
Yep.
So, V, we have a running totals here. So, are you team Louis or team Lestat?
Oh, wow.
Lestat.
Hey, I'm getting coaching from the back group
Yeah,
here.
That's what I heard.
Yes, but I definitely would be Team Lestat. Yes, you're
Okay.
absolutely right, Chad. I would be Team Lestat.
All right. Yeah.
I'm team Lestat and Dan is team Louis. So we have
Yeah,
this like running gig going.
Louis too much of a pussy. Sorry,
My
Louis.
sentiments
Yeah.
exactly.
That's fine. That's fine. I will carry my pride forth. Yeah.
You're a pretty pussy.
Yeah, I guess that's probably true. Louis, pretty pussy. Okay, he needs to own that, and that's fine. So, V, would you want to be turned into a vampire? And if so, why?
Um, I wouldn't mind it, but they should have done it like about 40 years ago. Because if they turned me now, I'd be old forever. That'd suck.
Well, these tropes, they are rewritten all the time. Maybe you'd be turned back
Maybe.
to your
Well,
19-year-old self or something like that.
19's a little young. I kind of like the 30s. That was pretty
Okay.
good for me. So, yeah, if I could be a 30-year-old vampire, hell yeah.
Well, V, Neill, thank you so much for joining us on Vamp Chat. And please know that you have a standing invitation to join us anytime. And like
Well,
I said,
I
hang
appreciate
around
that.
hang around for the Lost Boys review. So tell
Okay.
us, where can our listeners find out more about your Vampire Weekend?
You can find out about Vampire Weekend. That's Ve Neill Vampire Weekend. Just go to Eventbrite and put that in, and everything will come up for you there. It'll show you all the guests. It'll show you if you want to come and get a room. You can buy tickets, all of the above.
And where can our listeners find out more about your appearances in the coming months and your Legends Makeup Academy?
Legends Makeup Academy has, well, right now I have the Academy on hold because I'm doing too much other stuff. So I'm not having any classes coming up right now. So that's kind of on hold. But if and when it does, it's legendsmakeupacademy.com. You can go in and it'll show you all the classes we're doing. But right now I'm focusing on the convention and some other things that I have in the works, kind of. So I'm kind of getting away from teaching at the moment and kind of doing some other stuff.
Okay, sounds
I'm
very
excited.
exciting.
I'm excited.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at my, if you stay on my Instagram, pretty much at the Real V, that shows you some of the stuff that I'll be doing. But right now, I'm pretty well engrossed in the convention, so a lot of my postings will be either at V Neill Vampire Weekend. Um, that's you can find us on Instagram, and I think we're on TikTok and all that other stuff too. I don't really do the social media because I'm not.
You have people. It's okay.
I
Yeah.
have people. I have people to
Yes.
do that. That's right. But
I
do
have
know.
I have Christine. I have Christine. That's who
Yeah.
I
I
have.
do know. You can find me at the Real V. That one I know for sure. And it probably links to the V Neill Vampire Weekend as well. I'm sure.
All
Awesome.
right.
Awesome.
Well, this has been such a delight. Thank you
Well,
so
thank
much,
you.
Yes.
V, for coming on.
Thank you.
Thank you
Thank
very much,
you.
you guys. It's been fun.
And
Okay.
definitely stick around. Stick
I
around.
will.
Okay.
All right, a program note. Our next Vam Chat will be Wednesday, March the 5th. So next Wednesday, when we'll feature paranormal romance author Marilyn Barr. We will speak with her about her Walk the Walk series of vampire pirate romances, including book 1, Walk the Plank, book 2, Walk the Deck, and book 3, Walk the Night.
This will be the first time we've featured a romance author, so prepare to get your sexy on Wednesday, March 5th at 7 p.m. Eastern on Podbean.
Gar, pirate sexy.
Yar! Okay.
Gar.
All right. It is time for us to reveal what vampire video content we've been consuming. And Eva, you've been rewatching The Lost Boys from 1987.
Over and over again. Okay. Thou shalt not fall. Thou shalt not die. Thou shalt not fear. Thou shalt not kill.
Oh, take a bow. That was really good, Eva. Take a bow.
You ask any Gen X 80s child what this is from, and you'll get an immediate answer.
It's The Lost Boys.
The one and only. So, what can I say about The Lost Boys? Only that it's one of, if not the most iconic vampire film from the 80s. But it almost had a different outcome. So, see, it was originally set to be directed by Richard Donner, who ended up only executive producing the film instead. Before this happened, the plan was to make The Lost Boys similar to the 1985 hit The Goonies, which Donner had also directed. And thankfully, things changed once Joel Schumacher came on board to direct. So Schumacher had zero interest in the childhood adventure concept and brought in writer Jeffrey Boehm to basically rewrite the whole thing. He ratcheted up the sex appeal, the adult content factor from non-existent to heartthrob worthy, and I'm personally indebted to the man for it. So
Yeah. Go ahead. Yeah.
I'm telling you, whew, and what V did, oh gosh. So what's all the fuss about? Well, the storyline is simple, the actors are sexy, and the action is hot. We have a teenager, Michael, played by Jason Patrick, who moves to Santa Carla, California, with his divorced mom, Lucy, played by Diane Weist. I think Weist. I can never remember. And his brother, Sam, played by Corey Haim. And they're broke. They're broke from the divorce, and they come to live with their eccentric grandpa, played by Bernard Hughes. So shortly after they settle in, they go to this boardwalk concert where Michael meets Star, Jamie Gertz, played by Jamie Gertz, and a group of other teens. So you got David, who's Kiefer Sutherland, Paul, Dwayne, Marco, and a little boy, Laddie. Now, this is obviously not Michael's type of group. You know, they're rebellious, they dress like bikers, and they have no respect for authority. But his infatuation with Star leads him to follow them like a lemming. And I got to say, it's almost over a cliff,
Oh,
literally.
yeah, just like every typical hormone-driven teenager. Yeah, I remember.
Yep. You know, there's just one small twist. These new acquaintances just happen to be vampires.
Well, of course, here on Vamp Chat, I have to ask, what do vampire teens do on a Friday night?
Well, they get thrown off the boardwalk by the guard, and then they eat him. They get into a fight with some other teens, and they eat them. And they even crash a beach bonfire, and they eat everybody.
Right. So is Michael on the menu?
Possibly. So Michael is riding high on the lust train, and he's racing motorcycles with these guys. He's going to their hangout. He's getting hazed by them, which is where the infamous Chinese food scene comes to play, which is one of the many iconic scenes from the film. Now, I'm not going to spoil things for anyone who hasn't seen it, but let's just say that I can't eat rice or lo mein noodles to this day without thinking of maggots and worms.
Same.
So by the end of the night, Michael's given an option to join the group by drinking from a bottle that David gives him. And Star warns him that it's blood, but you know, Michael being a typical teen, he thinks it's all a joke and he downs the content and there's cheers from the guys and he's now one of the group. And this then leads to another iconic scene where they proceed to a railroad bridge and they hang underneath the just before a train passes above, and one by one they drop into the fog below until only David and Michael are left. And David screams, "Let go, Michael, you're one of us now." And then it's so cool the way he drops. He just lets go and he's got his arms up and he just like torpedoes straight down through the fog. And Michael's hanging there and he's trying to hang on, but he's tired and his hands ultimately give out and he falls into the fog and is screaming only to land at home in his bed.
Yeah.
So, right there we know something's happened. While all this is going on, Sam, his brother, goes into this comic book store and he meets Edgar and Alan Frog, played by Corey Feldman and Jameson Newlander. They're also known as the Frog Brothers. And they help their parents run the store, but they moonlight as vampire hunters. And they have their pulse on the vampire menace there in Santa Carla. And they give Sam these horror comics about vampires. And he tells them, these are survival guides.
Yeah. Good impression there.
So Michael's mom at the same time is also meeting someone new on the boardwalk. She's job hunting and she meets Max, who's played by Edward Herman. And he's a video store owner with this beautiful white shepherd dog named Thorn. So now a series of events happens and it pulls everybody together. So Michael starts to change and realizes he's becoming a vampire. Sam has to call the Frog Brothers. He involves them to help save Michael. Max is unsuccessfully trying to date Lucy. And then you've got Grandpa. And while he's very quirky with his TV guide rules and his taxidermy, he's quietly watching everything kind of unfold. He's just observing. And what we learn is that Star, Laddie, and now Michael are only half vampire. And they won't become full vampire until their first kill. So if they can hold off long enough till the head vampire is killed, then they can be saved.
But who is the head vampire?
Well, it's suspected to be David after Max is supposedly ruled out. But I don't want to give away the ending. Suffice it to say that no vampire goes out the same way.
Okay, yeah.
So, I was 17 in 1987, and this movie hit every hot button I could have ever asked for. It was sexy, rebellious, funny, dangerous. The clothes were a blend of rock, gay, punk styles, which, from what I've read, was actually very intentional on Joel Schumacher's part. The movie also employed a very distinct lighting style. It was characterized by rich, saturated colors, dramatic shadows. There was often backlighting. And this created a visually striking and almost neon-like aesthetic, which perfectly aligned with the film's gothic and youthful vampire theme. And to me, the movie was pure perfection. I mean, and I have to say that now, years later, when I watch it, it's still perfection. I mean, there have been spin-offs and remakes, but the original is still one of my all-time favorite vampire films.
Same here. Yeah.
So now I've got some trivia about the film to share.
Oh,
So
go. Yeah,
yeah,
I'm excited about
I mean,
this. All right.
trust me, I know this thing backwards and forwards. So while The Lost Boys, the title is obviously a reference to Peter Pan. The original script by Janice Fisher and James Jeremias was directly inspired by the classic story of the boy who never grew up, but with a vampire twist. The characters were all much younger, and many were named after the characters in Peter Pan. So originally, David was even supposed to be named Peter. So that's interesting. The song, the theme song, "Cry Little Sister," which I so eloquently started this review with, it was written by Gerard McMahon and created specifically for this soundtrack. And I got to tell you, I bought this soundtrack, and it is one of the few soundtracks that I have played from beginning to end. I mean, I never, you always have that one or two songs that you really like. No, you put this thing on play and you let it go till the very end. It's amazing. And, speaking of music, the sexy saxophone singer at the concert is Tim Capello.
Right.
And he's known for his work with Tina Turner in the mid 80s and 90s, as well as Peter Gabriel, Carly Simon. I mean, just a slew of other of artists. And he went on to actually release a solo album after his success on The Lost Boys. I saw an interview with him, and he was just like, he was like, I owe everything to this movie. Great guy. Uh, the name Michael, which I didn't think about this until I read this stat, is mentioned in the movie a whopping 118 times. And now that I'm thinking back on it, I'm like, you know what? They really did say Michael a lot. And originally, Star was supposed to be blonde, but it was Jason Patrick who insisted that Jamie Gertz get the role. They had worked together on the film Solar Babies before, and he just really wanted her on there. So in the beginning, when they're coming into Santa Carla, you see this billboard and it says, welcome to Santa Carla. And then it goes to the back of the billboard and somebody has tagged, murder capital of the world. Well, that's actually based on reality. So there were three separate killers, John Emily Fraser, Herbert Mullen, and Edmund Kemper, who murdered 28 people in Santa Cruz, which was Santa Carla in the movie, in the span of 30 months from 1970 to 1973. So it really was the murder capital of the world.
Wow.
And
all of those bodies in a short period. That's
yeah. So, and finally, and turn down your volume if you don't want to hear the spoiler, it was supposed to be a sequel. It was called The Lost Girls. And it involved David, who actually didn't die at the end of the movie. So, but that never came to fruition.
Well, before we rate this film, I want to hear Ve Neill's appreciation of your review. V, are you still there?
I'm still here. I'm not.
What'd you think?
I'm not saying anything. Everybody has an opinion, and everybody did a great job.
All right. Yeah, excellent. Very diplomatic of you. We understand.
I've learned over the years that everybody is fabulous.
Well, at least I hope that
you did a great job.
The opening song. And if I had any of my facts incorrect, I apologize. But
we'll correct you later.
That'll be for the DVD commentary or something like that.
That's right. We'll go on with it.
There we go.
Well, here on Vamp Chat, we have a rating system, and that's drops of blood, with 20 being the highest. So, Eva, how much sparkling blood, thanks to Ve Neill, will you spill for The Lost Boys?
I am going all out here, and I'm giving it a 23. I mean,
23.
The crowd goes wild.
I love The Lost Boys, and it was such it was so instrumental to my teenage years, and it just stuck with me. And we've talked about, Dan, about what movies kind of started the whole vampire thing with us. And
Hmm.
Salem's Lot was a big deal back in the 70s. And but the 80s, it was two movies, obviously, Fright Night and The Lost Boys, with The Lost Boys being pulling a little, ahead. It was everything to a 17-year-old girl, who
Yeah,
loves
I'll
horror.
bet.
I
Yeah,
mean,
absolutely.
That's
the
right, baby.
that I keep going back to the scene of them in the tree, and it's just there were so many iconic scenes from that movie. I mean, you had the Chinese food, the bridge, the concert, the tree, I mean, there were so many scenes, and it was amazing. And you watch it today, and a lot of movies from back then, you watch them now and you're like, oh my god, what was I thinking? But that one, well, there's very few that stand the test of time, and that one I can watch it over and over again, and it never disappoints.
We had the film running today while we were doing all of our fittings, and all the guys go,
Yeah.
"Oh wow, I've never seen this movie all the way through," and I wanted to crack them over the head. It's like, so you're going to be one of them. You better watch the goddamn movie, guys.
That's
Right.
that's when I would grab a chair and I would say, "You're not working. You're going to sit here and you're
Well,
going
they
to watch
did.
this movie."
They sat because we just had it on a loop, and they just sat and they watched it and went, "Oh, this is really cool."
Yeah.
Okay.
So, V, I have to ask you, you were part of a team that made a movie that for Gen Xers is iconic. You have really affected, so many people. You made Eva's teenage years. How does that feel?
Uh, I don't know. All I can say is, for many, many years, people say, "What was your favorite movie to work on?" I always said The Lost Boys.
Wow.
And it
Yeah.
wasn't probably till I got up and did the pirate movies up in those years, I finally said, "Okay, well, there's nothing better than being on a ship full of pirates." Okay, that's all I can.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I mean, I have worked on a lot of really fun movies. I mean, I did all the Hunger Games. They were a ball to work on and work with all the young people. I really enjoy working with young people, and I enjoy working with people that like to be uh, in costume and like living in a fantasy land and bringing all these really cool characters to life. To me, it just makes life worth living. I get bored with talking heads movies, and I do like to watch a good drama, but it's like it's not my jam. You know what I mean? I will sit and watch a shitty fantasy movie before I'll sit and watch a drama any day.
I'm the same way. I'm
Yeah.
I
exactly
want
the
to
same
be
way.
entertained. I want to be entertained. I want to be taken out of real life when I go to the movies. It's a place where you live. It's that dark room where you can be somewhere else and be somebody else.
Oh, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I tell
I
everybody I don't
I
do
have
historical because
yeah.
I'm already reminded. I know how bad man can get. I don't
Yeah.
need to be reminded. I want to be entertained.
Let me ask you something. What was your favorite set for the Lost Boys? You like the tree, right? You like that
The
whole thing in the
tree
tree?
stands out. The tree
Okay.
definitely stands
You
out.
know what my
I
favorite set was? Because I was
what?
there. Was the cave.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
the
That
cave.
that
Yes, the
was the
cave.
coolest set ever. That cave was built on the lot at Warner Brothers Studios, and it was
Yes.
so cool to go in there. Bo Welch, who was the production designer, who's just amazing, who's done a lot of Tim Burton movies as well. But he was just, and it's actually because of Bo Welch that I went on to Beetlejuice. But Bo Welch is amazing. That whole thing with the Jim Morrison poster in that whole thing was just so cool. You don't even know how cool it was unless you were in it, because I don't think that, even though it was filmed beautifully, even the filming didn't show how cool this place was to stand in it.
Oh, wow.
It was so bitchin'. It was such a bitchin' set.
I was in Santa Monica recently, and a few months ago, and I walked down on the boardwalk, and I know that it wasn't in Santa Monica, but being on the boardwalk, and then there was a carousel there, I walked in, and the carousel is running, and the only thing I could think of the whole time I'm on that boardwalk is, oh my god, this is the Lost. I'm in the Lost Boys set, and when I saw the carousel, I just had to look around. I just had my little Lost Boys moment right there. And
Cute. You know, I
It was
have a
great.
really funny story about the Lost Boys if you want to hear it.
Of
Oh,
course.
absolutely.
From that set I was talking about, the cave set.
Uh-huh.
When we did, there's this thing, the scene where the kids are going through their cave and they're like shushing off the flies and everything. And you can't really see the flies, but we had bought thousands, and I don't know how they did it. Don't ask me how they did it, but they had thousands of neutered flies
Oh my
so that they could replicate, right? But they had thousands of them, and they let them go inside the tunnel there where the kids were, so that they could be batting off the flies and everything. Well, when we
oh
were
my
done shooting that scene, they opened the hangar door on the stage, and they let all the flies out. And there was this whole thing on the news that night in Burbank about how they were being besieged by flies. And we're all
Oh
just like,
my.
oh my God, those are our flies.
that is awesome.
I was like, whoever thought I mean, there was that many flies that they thought they were being besieged by these hordes of flies.
Oh, that is amazing.
It's
That
pretty
Oh.
is
funny. It's pretty
awesome.
cute. It was on the news. I mean, get out. Really? That's awesome, right?
I mean, in a way, it's good publicity for the film, I guess.
I'm not really sure. Listen, guys, I have got to get back to my fittings, and
Okay.
it's
Yep.
been a joy. I really appreciate you doing this, and I hope I see you guys in March. It will be fun.
Oh,
Yes,
absolutely.
we
And
will.
if
We
not
will
in
be
March,
talking.
June in Louisville. We
June.
will look for you.
Yes.
All
Yes.
right,
Okay.
I'm gonna
Talk to you
hang up
soon.
now.
Okay.
Okay.
Bye
Take
bye.
care. All right. Bye
Bye bye,
bye.
guys.
Well, that was really perhaps the most fun I've had in a long time.
That was. Oh my gosh, that was amazing. She is so amazing.
Oh
She really.
yeah, yeah. And I'm glad that she liked your review. I think you said you gave it 23 drops of blood. Is that
23
correct?
drops of blood.
That
Yes.
is by far the highest. I mean, you exceeded the threshold of 20 being the highest by a little bit. That's amazing. So you have
It
obviously very strong feelings about this
it
film.
deserves more than that, but I kind of wanted to temper it back. I didn't want to
Uh-huh.
go like
Uh-huh.
50. But no, yeah, it's I mean, I just can't. And some of it is the fact that it was such a formidable, movie to my teenage years. But
Hmm.
like I
Hmm.
said, you watch it now and it's still perfect.
It
There's
is. Yeah.
nothing to change. It's perfect in every way.
I
So
agree so much. For those listening, hit us up on Facebook. Let us go to the Vamp Chat with Dan and Eva Facebook page and let us know how much you enjoyed our interview with three-time Oscar-winning makeup artist V. Neill. We'd love to hear
yes,
your comments there as well.
yes.
Yes. So, anything else you want to say about tonight's show,
No,
Eva?
I'm over the moon. I'm excited.
Well, that is our show. Be sure to listen to our next episode, which will be Wednesday, March 5th, when we speak with paranormal romance author Marilyn Barr, author of the Walk the Walk series of vampire pirate romances. Again, that'll be March 5th at 7 p.m. Eastern here on Podbean.
And a huge thanks to tonight's guest, V. Neill. Post V, if you're still listening, post lots of pictures from the Vampire Ball. We definitely want to share them. Unless we're there, we'll take them.
Unless we're there. Yeah, we'll see.
We got to talk about it.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, I'm sure someone out there is thinking, I would like to sponsor Vamp Chat. How does one do that?
It's easy. All you have to do is email us at vampchatwithdanandeva@gmail.com or reach out to us on Facebook or Instagram.
And we look forward to introducing your business or event to our audience. All right, children of the night, we wish you safe dreams.
Just keep an eye open for those creatures of the night.
And if you can't sleep, we have vampire books to recommend. Be sure to sink your teeth into Eva's novel, A Fury.
Or this might be a perfect night to devour Dan's novel, Fiona's Guardians.
And with that,
We bid you
good
night.
night. Good night, Eva.
Good night, Dan.